Welcome to another edition of ClearTalk. I'm Brad Dempsey, and again, I'm very pleased to be joined by Joel Harris. How are you today, Joel?
I am wonderful.
Great.
Thank you for having me. It's a great topic to discuss today.
This is a return topic. Where did we leave it off last time?
Yeah, thanks for that prompt. So we left it off with we were going to talk about remote work, as so many of our integration companies they were actually already in the business of managing remote workers. Almost all of our field workers are remote. All of our salespeople are remote. All of our service techs are remote. Very rarely are they office-based personnel. So most of us already had some semblance of managing remote work, but then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and we had to learn how to manage a whole different class of remote workers, but it also including still those teams that were never located in the office. And Solution 360 made that transformation to a permanent remote workforce before I joined. And I was interested in hearing some lessons you learned or some observations you made as Solutions 360 transformed from a work at your desk to work from home and still run a growth business.
Well, it's an interesting question because we had introduced a lot of the technology necessary for remote work, but the technology is in my mind, is a fairly small part of the whole question. What really drives, I think, a lot of companies is the concept of busy work. A lot of customers I talk to, friends who own companies, et cetera, it's about being able to see people sitting at their desk, working away, going to meetings, being in the office, and seeing that busy work. And this relates really closely to what we've been teaching for a long time, too, about the idea of planning and forecasting, because I think
Mhm.
that's one side of being successful with remote work. If you plan out the work you need to do, and whether that be project tasks, service calls, whatever, and you estimate how long and how much effort those things are going to take. And you should be doing that estimating anyways, because that's how you set your pricing. You need
Right.
to estimate the labor involved because labor is your most valuable resource and you need to understand what that costs. Well, if you lay out the plan and you understand what something should cost, and now you bring in time billing, so you find out what it's actually taking. Now you've got all the information to accurately say, am I productive? Am I profitable? And it's really about managing that business to a level of productivity and profitability, not to a level of busyness. And I think that the businesses who do really well with remote work understand that. And they have the systems and the data in place to make decisions and monitor the KPIs that tell you whether or not you're successful as with remote workers.
That's an excellent observation. It brings me back to the discussions we've had on utilization by itself is not a good metric. Utilization is a good metric. You should absolutely measure utilization, time bill, productive work against available hours. But if it's not bounded by, did I perform that work within the hours I estimated? So my over under budget concept, right? So I always talk
Right.
about having opposing metrics. It's probably the bad word, but balancing metrics that I can see because I can have people simply time bill to make it look like they're productive. But the real measurement is the productivity measurement, which is hours of profit per task versus hours consumed by that task. And I only know that by having a benchmark if this is what I estimated and forecasted it to be. Again, we're not looking to penalize people who go over because then we just teach people to lie that once a project hits its budgeted hours, you can't charge any more time to it. So figure out where to hide that time. That is not what we're talking about. It has to be based on integrity. But then I know how to correct my estimates going forward. And I can begin to measure productivity of tasks performed because I know how much I estimated and forecasted versus how much actually took me to do it. And then we can run a virtuous cycle of constantly improving because it goes the other way. What if we're selling to our customers a task that only takes us 2 hours to do, but we charge 10 hours? How many customers are we losing because the company down the street actually figured out how to only charge 2 hours for that task that only took 2 hours? And so we often think about this from a conservative perspective of how do I protect my profitability, but we sometimes forget that it's also how do I drive revenue because I'm actually able to price lower based on the fact that it doesn't take me as long to do those tasks as I thought it might or is I protected in my budget? So we're always trying to remind people both sides of that, cost and revenue opportunities, as can be found in the productivity equation.
Great
So
point.
what
And sorry, it comes back to true costs, right? Not just costs,
comes
but
back to
what is
true
the true
costs?
cost of your labor? Yeah.
What are the true costs? So I think managing remote works has been something that's challenged all of us, and this is a great
Mhm.
topic to think about. And wow, I really appreciate your insight into busyness not being the right criteria. How many hires have you and I made over the years because our managers came to us and claimed our people were busy?
Mhm.
It's absolutely a terrible hiring metric. What we need to understand is productivity of the labor force that we're putting into the job.
And that triggers another thing that we've talked about. It's not up to the employee in most cases
That's
to
right.
set their schedule. It's up to the project managers and their managers and line managers, et cetera. It's up to those people who lay out the plan and the forecast to make sure that things are utilized correctly.
Yeah, that's right. We thanks for that reminder, because it absolutely, we want people to understand that your job isn't to your job isn't to fake utilization. Your job is to do the work that's assigned to you in the most value added or productive manner that you can. And then when we measure that, we also then know who our stars on the team are. When we lie to ourselves, we don't know who our great performers are versus our mediocre performers. So discipline around productivity as a focus versus utilization is an absolute must for managing remote workforce. Any
Great
closing
reminder.
thoughts you have on the topic, Brad?
I think in my mind, the most important thing is understanding that time billing is a tool to manage your business effectively. It is not a way to track or punish employees. That's not the purpose at all. And trying to create a culture where people understand that and appreciate that. We trust you. That's not the issue. We as business managers, owners, um, need to understand the true costs so that we can run a better business. And that creates a more resilient business. That creates a business because profit creates opportunity.
That's right.
Profit creates stability. You know, I want to work for a company that I know is going to be in business a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. If a company is not well run financially, they're not going to be around. So think about time billing that way as well. It's part of the key to having a stable, profitable business.
That's a great conclusion to our talk today. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.